So let's look at our first transformation, reflection in a line. So reflection over a line is a transformation in which each point of the original figure has an image that's the same distance from the line of reflection as the original point, but is on the opposite side of the line. Under reflection, the figure does not change size. So we want to indicate a reflection. One way we could do that is using the direction that's in your notes, that RK of triangle ABC equals triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So let's explain what the symbols mean in that particular statement. So the R there means reflection, and the K is a line of reflection. So it's just a shorthand way of telling us that we're going to reflect triangle ABC over a particular line. The prime marks, those marks that are on the A, B, and C for the image, they're just called prime marks. They always indicate your image. So the line of reflection is also the perpendicular bisector of the segment joining every point and its image. You have that in your notes. You have the figure in your notes. I'd like you to add the information next to the figure. Line K, and so K is not a point there, it's a label for the line. Line K is the perpendicular bisector of C, C prime, B, B prime, and A, A prime. Okay, so that could come in handy if we have a tricky reflection and we're having trouble finding where the point should be. Right? So if we were to connect a point on the original, on the pre-image, with the corresponding point on the image, right, that line there, that segment would be perpendicular to our line of reflection. Right? So we can use that to help us with reflections. A reflection is a transformation of points over a line. The result looks like the pre-image was flipped over the line. So a line reflection creates a figure that's congruent to the original figure, and it's called an isometry, and that's because it preserves length. In addition to knowing definition of reflection and the correct terminology, you need to know some things that stay the same and things that change under a reflection. So properties that are preserved under a line reflection: the distance, all the lengths of the segments are the same, they don't change. Angle measures remain the same. Perimeter and area of the figure stays the same. So anything that has to do with length or size will not change. Properties that change under a line reflection: orientation. So the lettering order is not preserved, it's going to be reversed. And the x and or y coordinates, the position will change. If we reflect over a horizontal line, the y coordinates will change. If we reflect over a vertical line, the x coordinates will change. If we reflect over a diagonal line, they'll both change. Right? So for a reflection, the image is going to be congruent. The letters will be in the opposite direction. You have this one in your notes. So when reflecting a figure, reflect the vertices and then draw the sides. So we're going to reflect ABCD over line R, and we'll label the vertices of the image. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit. You do the best you can to reflect over that line, and I will too. So notice that I flipped the figure, so the orientation has changed. It almost seems, I mean, I'm looking at it from very close up, but it looks like my figure, when I was moving things around, shrunk a little bit. Now that looks too big. I guess that looks pretty close. All right, so now we're going to label, all right? And so notice that points A and D are, on the original, are closer to the line of reflection than points D and C are closer to the line of reflection than A and B are. And so likewise, D prime and C prime will be closer to the line of reflection, and A prime and B prime will be farther away. Right? So notice that when an image is reflected over a line, the points are in the And you have this in your notes. Let's fill in the blanks. And they're going to be in the reversed order. The points in the image are the blank distance from the line of reflection as the image. Right? So now I'm not exactly perfect. I didn't, we, just kind of eyeballed it. But we're trying to keep it the same distance from the line of reflection. So you did the best you can to draw A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime as the image of figure ABCD reflected over that line of reflection. All right? So the first ones that we're going to work with are actually not going to be on the coordinate plane, and then we'll look at applying what we've learned to the coordinate plane. All right, so right now we're learning how to do it not necessarily on the coordinate plane. And we have another one. Actually, we have two more that we're going to reflect not over the coordinate plane. All right, so the line of reflection, first of all, we're going to reflect W, X, Y, Z over line S and label the vertices of the image. Nice thing about the square is that I can get away with just moving it as long as I label it correctly and not having to flip it. Let's see, there we go. All right, so, but we didn't just slide it, right? We did reflect it, right? It just didn't look like that when I moved it in place. All right, so now let's figure out where our vertices are. Right? So this one's probably a little easier for you to draw, right, than the first one was. Right? So remember, they have to be the same distance from the line of reflection. Right? So X prime is going to be located there. Oh, it looks like one of our points is missing. Looks like we lost. We got W, we got X, we don't have Y. Right? So this is Y. Right? So notice it's on the other side of the line of reflection. Right? And so when we reflect, Y prime is going to be located there. W prime is going to be located here across the figure, and then Z prime would be located there. Right? So notice they keep those same distances from the line of reflection. In your notes, I want you to add that next to the figure. Right? So line S is a perpendicular bisector of W, W prime, Y, Y prime. Let's add in the rest there, somehow I got lost. X, X prime, and Z, Z prime. Right, and we can actually draw those in. I'm going to try to use a line tool, but if I make it black, it's just going to be a sea of black. So let's use orange, right, so that we can see the difference between one line and the next. All right, so there's the perpendicular. There's our segment X, X prime, and notice it's a line S is a perpendicular bisector for that segment. Here's Y, Y prime, and our line of reflection will be a perpendicular bisector for that segment, if I can get it in the right spot. And we've got W, W prime. So line S is a perpendicular bisector for that segment. And then finally, we have, oops, here's my line tool. We have Z, Z prime, and S is a perpendicular bisector for that one as well. Kind of makes it look three-dimensional, doesn't it, with all the segments connecting the point on the original, on the pre-image with the point on the image. All right, so line of reflection is perpendicular bisector between a line connecting a point on the original with the corresponding point on the image. And I still missed a Z here. Every time I move it, it bounces back. Okay, close enough. Let's do one more reflection, not on a coordinate plane. Right, so we want to reflect M and P over a line T. Right? And so I'm going to, do I have an extra on that one? Well, I don't have an extra triangle on that one. I'll have to actually draw it out. All right, so we're going to reflect. Right? And so notice that, and we're just going to do our best. Right? So the figure of the original is right on the line of reflection. And I don't know about you, but I don't think that's a very good drawing of my image. I don't think I made this line long enough. Let's try that again. Well, I think that's probably the best I'm going to do. All right, so now let's draw our let's add our vertices. So this is going to be M prime across the figure. I'm going to draw that in red so it stands out a little bit. There we go. Oh no, I lost part of my figure. My beautiful triangle. There's M prime. All right, so now let's think about where N prime and P prime are going to be. Well, notice that the line of reflection, our figure is right on the line of reflection. So if you've got a point that's on your pre-image, it's on the line of reflection, the point on the image is also going to be on the line of reflection, right? Because it has to be the same distance away. So there's N prime, and N and N prime are in the exact same location as is P and P prime. You know, so they haven't moved at all. The only point that moved was M prime. We're going to look at one more thing, and you have one example in your notes, and for this, you're going to need a compass. Right, and so we're actually going to draw a line of reflection, and this time we're not going to eyeball it like we had to do when we were graphing, or we were drawing our reflections. We're actually going to get the exact line of reflection using a construction. Right, so remember that our line of reflection is a perpendicular bisector for a segment connecting corresponding points on the pre-image and the image. Right, so all we're going to have to do is do a perpendicular bisector construction. And what are we going to bisect? Why, it's going to be the segments connecting the corresponding points. So our first step is to connect the corresponding points on the original and the image. This one I didn't particularly mark as which is the original, which is the image, but it doesn't matter who's who. Right? So I'm going to connect that pair of corresponding points. One pair of corresponding points is already connected, right? Because obviously we can tell my original figure must have been on the line of reflection. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the exact same point. All right, so there we've created our segments. Okay? One segment is really all you need, but sometimes it's nice to have two segments, or use the segment that's further away or a little larger when you're doing your perpendicular bisector, just to make sure your work is big enough when you're trying to draw in your line. All right, so I'm going to do a perpendicular bisector. I'm going to make it nice and big. All right, so notice we got to open up our compass so that it is open more than halfway across the segment. And then we're going to do an arc above and below. And I'm actually just going to put it right through that particular segment. All right, so there's above and then below. Oops. I leaned on my compass. Fortunately, I can do that. And below. All right, so there's our arcs. All right, and then we just move our compass over. And I need to switch the direction of my compass. All right, we just put the compass point on the other end point. Right, we put it on one end point and drew the arcs, and we put it on the other end point and draw the arcs. Probably should have not. I should have probably used a different color other than black. Kind of blends in there with the original figure. But my lines are darker. Oh, and what I didn't do. So one thing you want to make sure is that you make the segments darker. Long enough. And so I must have thought I was leaning against the compass, and I wasn't, like I am right now. And my arc is too small. So I'm going to have to redraw that one. I should have been paying attention. I made a nice big arc above, and I didn't realize that I didn't really continue my arc below. There we go. All right, now, oops, there we go. I'm done with that. So there we have our arcs above and below. And now we can draw our perpendicular bisector, right? And that perpendicular bisector ends up being our line of reflection. So I just need to move it because I missed my point. Now you'll use, and I'm going to change the color just to make it stand out a little bit more. How about purple? Actually, that's blue. Hit blue. All right, so that blue line there has moved. Or that side's good. It's this one actually. And something seems wrong because I missed that point there. Did I not put that in the right spot? I'm going to do that one more time. The only thing I need to get rid of is these two, these arcs. So sometimes we all make we're just a little off, and I appear to be off. And I'm not going to leave it or just say, good enough. No. Let's fix this and do this right. Now we'll just, here. Oops, no, I don't want to clone it. Cut. It's a little harder sometimes to move this when it's recording. And let's cut that last one. Let's do this one more time. That's okay, we'll get to practice the steps because I only think I have two practices. All right? And I could use either segment, right? The larger one that's further away or the closer one. Let's do this one more time and make this nice big arcs. Right, so there's the arc above and below. And all it takes is me just missing the point where the compass is supposed to be, and that will mess up my arc. Oops. Turn around. Okay. Let's get that in the right spot. So it may have been when I did something like that, where I flipped it over, the compass could have moved, and I not paid attention to that. All right, so above and below. That's all right, we'll just practice the steps. And that looks a little better even before I draw the line. All right, that looks much, much better. I probably just moved it when I flipped it over to the other side and didn't even realize that I was off my point. But there we go. All right, so let's change that color of this line here. Let's make it that color, teal. All right, so this teal line here is our line of reflection. All right, and so these are the steps. These are the steps to construct your line of reflection. All right, so you're just going to draw in your segments connecting corresponding points. Choose a segment that you like to create the perpendicular bisector. You put your compass on one side, draw the arcs above and below, switch it to the other end point of your segment above and below and where the arcs intersect. Just like when we did and we're doing constructions and we're just bisecting any old segment. This time though, when we are bisecting our segment, we actually get our line of reflection. I think I have one more, and this one's in your notes. All right, so let's draw a line connecting. Let's take green. All right, and we could match up any of them. All right, I could choose, where did my line go? What happened to my line? There we go. I'm back to orange. Orange is fine. Right? Whoops. But let's fix where it's located. Every single one of them kind of missed its point. All right, so we could use any one of these lines that are connecting, whoops, our corresponding points. Maybe we'll just, here we go. Let's just use the one in the middle. Let's just use C and the segment connecting C and C prime. Right? So we're going to get our compass. You're going to get your compass too. This is a construction. Right? And we're going to open our compass more than halfway. There is some little box here. Oh, that's why my box is there. So technically there is a line of reflection in there, but that's okay. We're going to construct it. All right, and I'm going to switch the color. There we go. So we draw the arc above and below. Whoops, or we're just going to move the box. There we go, above and then below. As it disappears behind that box. There we go. All right, and now we just switch it to the other end point. Now, and for me, I need to flip that over. And we draw the arc above and below. It's a little weird because it keeps disappearing behind a box. And below. But this time, arcs look pretty good. Let's move that compass out of the way. And then all we need to do is connect draw a line there through the intersection of our arcs. Whoops, come on. Don't bebop all around it. Well, you can use, that's as close as I'm going to get, I think. No, look how it just says, whoops, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go everywhere else. All right, well, we're going to call that good for me. I'm just going to switch the color so you can see it. And you won't have that problem because you can use a straight edge and you'll be able to bisect it without your line deciding it's going to bebop and be everywhere but the place it's supposed to be. Good enough. In the next podcast, I'm not going to mess with it again. In the next podcast, we're going to look at reflections in the coordinate plane. All right? So thanks for watching. Bye for now.